My name is Alice, and I'm turning 49 this year. I've been a single mother since my divorce when my daughter, Quinn, was just 5. The split came about because of irreconcilable differences. My ex-husband was unemployed and spent his days drinking, refusing to change despite our worsening financial situation. After the divorce, which left me without child support or alimony, I was determined to forge a better life for Quinn and myself. Initially, I took on work-from-home jobs that allowed me to be there for Quinn. The jobs were tough, with long hours and low pay, but we managed. As Quinn grew up and started working, I found more time to dedicate to my passion for crafting, eventually turning it into the creative crafter business. Life took a happier turn when Quinn got engaged. Her fiancé, Jackson, is her boss and 5 years her senior. From the photo Quinn showed me, Jackson seemed responsible, a stark contrast to her father. One evening, Quinn came to me hesitantly after dinner, wanting to discuss her engagement. She seemed nervous but relieved when I expressed my support. She then asked if I could meet Jackson before their wedding to get a sense of who he was. I agreed, eager to see the man who had won my daughter's heart. The meeting was set for the following Sunday. I was nervous but hopeful. Just before 10:35 a.m., the doorbell rang, and there stood Quinn and Jackson, who greeted me politely. He even brought famous brand sweets, which was a thoughtful gesture. However, the pleasant mood was soured at a pre-wedding event when Victoria, Jackson's mother, made a disparaging comment. As I was served tea and biscuits, she laughed coarsely and remarked, "Water's good enough for poor folks." I was stunned by her vulgarity, and I couldn't hide my discomfort. Anna, Jackson's sister, looked at me with a pale face, perhaps embarrassed by her mother's behavior. Despite this, I managed a slight smile, but inside, I felt deeply humiliated. Through all the ups and downs, my resolve remains strong. I am Alice, a mother, a survivor, and now, the creative crafter businesswoman. Despite the challenges, I'm determined to live life on my terms and support my daughter's happiness in any way I can. Jackson arrived with a thoughtful gift and shared the charming story of how he met Quinn, his enthusiasm drawing a bashful blush from her. "Jackson, stop it, you're embarrassing me," Quinn chuckled, her cheeks tinged with red. Witnessing this light-hearted moment felt refreshing and filled me with joy. However, the atmosphere shifted abruptly when Jackson, looking around curiously, asked, "Is your father at work today?" His puzzled expression caught me off guard, and I noticed Quinn's face lose color. She hadn't told him about her upbringing by a single mother. In traditional circles, being raised by a single mother often attracts undue prejudice. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach as I prepared to explain our situation to Jackson. "Quinn might not have mentioned this, but I'm divorced, and I raised her alone," I said, watching his smile momentarily falter to a blank stare. "What's wrong?" I asked, a wave of anxiety washing over me. Jackson quickly recovered, his smile returning as he reassured me, "It's nothing, please don't worry." His swift recovery left me puzzled, but I chose not to delve deeper. The conversation moved on, and Quinn began to excitedly discuss wedding plans. "What kind of dress should I choose? What color do you think would suit me, Mom?" she asked with sparkling eyes. I suggested she choose whatever color she loved most, but internally, I couldn't shake the unease from Jackson's initial reaction. Concerned that his family might hold conservative views about single parenthood, I later asked Quinn what Jackson had said about us on their way back. She gave me a puzzled look and responded, "He didn't say anything special, huh, Mom? Aren't you worrying too much?" Although reassured, I couldn't completely dismiss my apprehensions. My fears were confirmed one night when Quinn came home looking unusually somber. "Mom," she called out in a troubled tone that was rare for her usually optimistic demeanor. "Why such a gloomy face? Did something happen?" I asked, surprised by her distressed appearance. After a moment of hesitation, Quinn revealed, "Actually, it seems Jackson's family isn't too pleased about our marriage." Her voice trembled slightly. "Why?" I pressed, sensing her sadness deepen. "Because we're a single mother family. They think Jackson will struggle because we're poor and from a single parent home," she explained, the hurt evident in her eyes. That's an awful thing to say, I responded firmly, feeling a surge of indignation. Did Jackson's mother actually say that? Quinn nodded silently, confirming my worst fears. I was outraged by the narrow-mindedness displayed by Jackson's family. Just because we were a single-mother family did not mean they had the right to assume we were poor or that Jackson would struggle. We had faced our challenges head-on, and I had worked tirelessly to provide Quinn with a loving and stable home. Our dignity and our achievements were not defined by our hardships, and I was determined to support Quinn through this unexpected challenge, ensuring she knew her worth and our family's strength. I felt a wave of anger as Quinn relayed the hurtful comments made by Jackson's family. They accused us of being after Jackson's money and bluntly stated it was impossible for them to accept us as part of their family. Seeing Quinn so disheartened and alone was heartbreaking. It's awful that they would make such accusations without even knowing me, I thought. I couldn't fathom how Jackson's parents could be so judgmental. What did Jackson say when they said these things? I asked, recalling the blank expression on Jackson's face when he first visited us. Perhaps he was already anticipating his family's harsh reactions. To my relief, Quinn mentioned that Jackson had defended us, dispelling any notion that she was after his money, especially since they worked at the same company. If Jackson is on your side, that's reassuring, I said, somewhat comforted. If he hadn't supported Quinn, I would have been deeply concerned about her future and the continuous negative remarks from his family. A few days later, Quinn, looking uneasy, suggested we have a family meeting with Jackson's family before the wedding. Mom, I want to have a family meeting with Jackson's family before the wedding. I'm really sorry, she said. Apparently, it was Elena's idea, Jackson's mother, who insisted you should greet your fiancé's parents at least once. Your mother has that much common sense, right? Despite the discomfort it caused, Quinn and I couldn't refuse. As the day of the meeting approached, I braced myself for the worst. Quinn informed me that we would meet at a restaurant near Jackson's parents' house because, according to Elena, we can't have you in our house when you're not married yet. The chosen venue was a fine dining restaurant charging $550 per person, a place I occasionally visited for business but rarely privately. Elena's decision puzzled me, reflecting perhaps another layer of her pretentious attitude. Moreover, Elena had previously chosen a cafe near their home for Quinn's first official greeting to the family and had even made Quinn pay for her meal, justifying it by saying, "It's only natural since you're becoming my son's wife." Thankfully, Jackson reimbursed the meal cost later, but Elena's arrogance still bothered me. Why did she act so high-handedly even though she was the one inviting us for the marriage introduction? Despite my reservations and the discomfort of dealing with such prejudices, I agreed to the meeting, knowing it was important for Quinn. It was essential to show our dignity in a private room. Jackson and his family awaited us, his father Matthew, mother Lana, and sister Anna. Their expressions made it clear we were not entirely welcome. Jackson greeted us politely, and I managed to muster a smile and thank him. Introducing myself to his family, Lana smirked unpleasantly, saying disdainfully, "I'd rather not have any further association, you know." Jackson attempted to admonish her, but she continued unabated, "Just being from a single-parent family is problematic enough. You must be struggling with money, even your clothes are so plain." Her eyes roamed over my outfit, her words laced with mockery. Anna joined in, taunting us about Quinn's choice in marrying into their family, remarking on our financial status. Despite the rudeness, I took my seat, choosing not to retaliate and escalate tensions. Jackson looked visibly upset by his family's behavior, but Lana was too caught up in her excitement about the expensive meal they had ordered to notice. "It's $550 per person here. We have to eat a lot," Anna chirped with glee as Matthew nodded along, clearly pleased. Jackson arrived with a thoughtful gift and shared the charming story of how he met Quinn, his enthusiasm drawing a bashful blush from her. "Jackson, stop it, you're embarrassing me," Quinn chuckled, her cheeks tinged with red. Witnessing this light-hearted moment felt refreshing and filled me with joy. However, the atmosphere shifted abruptly when Jackson, looking around curiously, asked, "Is your father at work today?" His puzzled expression caught me off guard, and I noticed Quinn's face lose color. She hadn't told him about her upbringing by a single mother. In traditional circles, being raised by a single mother often attracts undue prejudice. I felt a knot tighten in my stomach as I prepared to explain our situation to Jackson. Quinn might not have mentioned this, but I'm divorced, and I raised her alone, I said, watching his smile momentarily falter to a blank stare. What's wrong? I asked, a wave of anxiety washing over me. Jackson quickly recovered, his smile returning as he reassured me, it's nothing, please don't worry. His swift recovery left me puzzled, but I chose not to delve deeper. The conversation moved on, and Quinn began to because we're a single mother family. They think Jackson will struggle because we're poor and from a single-parent home, she explained, the hurt evident in her eyes. That's an awful thing to say, I responded firmly, feeling a surge of indignation. Did Jackson's mother actually say that? Quinn nodded silently, confirming my worst fears. I was outraged by the narrow-mindedness displayed by Jackson's family. Just because we laughed mockingly, I don't want to end up like Quinn's mother, working for low wages even though she's a woman. It's really pitiful, without any feminine charm. Quinn's eyes welled with tears as she looked at me, clearly pained by the situation she had inadvertently placed me in. My patience had reached its limit, being demeaned like this was unbearable. I was ready to stand up for myself when suddenly, Jackson burst out, enough already. All of you ganging up on Quinn's mother, aren't you ashamed as adults? His voice boomed through the room. I was taken aback by his intervention, as was Quinn. Jackson's face was flushed with anger, yet his family seemed unfazed. Lana continued to laugh, dismissively saying, there's no need to defend poor people. Why is Jackson getting so angry? Matthew just nodded in agreement, oblivious to the hurt they were causing. As they continued, it was clear they lacked any semblance of empathy or common sense. Just as I was contemplating how to respond, a sudden change occurred in Maria's demeanor. She stared at me, her face losing color, and suddenly seemed to recognize something about me that shifted her attitude entirely. What's wrong with you, Maria? You've been acting strange for a while, Matthew asked, puzzled by his daughter's sudden pallor. Lana, too, looked at Maria with concern, asking if she was okay as she continued to tremble. At that moment, Maria hesitantly asked her father, Dad, your company's Globecrafts, right? Seeking confirmation. Globecrafts was a modest enterprise with about 157 employees, not known for high salaries. I knew of Globecrafts because it was closely related to my business dealings. Matthew, still unaware of the connection, laughed off her question. I might look like this, but I'm working hard as the sales manager, he boasted, unaware of the impending revelation. Maria's realization that I, whom they had so crudely insulted, was closely linked to their business interests through my own the creative crafter dealings was a twist they hadn't anticipated. The room fell silent as the implications of their rudeness and prejudice began to dawn on them, and for the first time that evening, the smugness on Lana and Matthew's faces began to falter. Matthew's laughter filled the air as he claimed, I used my connections to get you a part-time job at our company, didn't I? Be grateful. Maria's face fell as she listened, looking resigned yet puzzled. But why are you bringing this up now? Are you trying to show off? Because this person here is likely just a non-regular employee, while you are a full-time one, Matthew said, his tone dripping with disdain as he glanced at me. I felt a sharp sting at his words but held my resolve, silently vowing that this misunderstanding was about to be cleared up dramatically. Maria sighed and hesitantly began to explain to her father. Dad, don't you know the company's clients? Matthew looked confused, and Bella, being a housewife, seemed out of her depth with the business details. I've met Quinn's mother before, inside the company, Maria continued, her voice gentle. She was wearing more makeup then, and I didn't recognize her right away. Matthew, still perplexed, responded, inside the company? I'm sure I remember the faces of the employees, including part-timers, but there's no older woman like that. I bristled at being referred to as an older woman, but Matthew was too wrapped up in his confusion to notice. Maria, seeing her father's befuddlement, softly apologized to me. Quinn's mother, I'm really sorry for what happened. Her apology seemed to agitate the in-laws further. Why apologize? There's no need to say sorry to such a poor person, Bella snapped, with Matthew echoing, right, don't you have any pride, apologizing to someone like her? Ignoring her parents, Maria turned to them with resolve. Dad, Mom, Quinn's mother is actually very wealthy, much wealthier than Dad could ever be. The room went still. Matthew and Bella looked at Maria, shocked by her declaration. Because, Maria continued with a calm resignation, Quinn's mother is the president of Roland's Bags. I've served her tea in the company's reception room. You know Roland's Bags, right? Matthew froze, his expression shifting as he turned to look at me. I met his gaze with a deliberate smile. Roland's Bags? Isn't that the brand you finally convinced to collaborate with us? He muttered, realization dawning. Bella, too, suddenly pieced things together. Roland's Bags? That's the one with bags in department stores, right? Even my bag is from there, she exclaimed, rifling through her bag multiple times. When we had entered the restaurant's private room, I had noticed a familiar bag carefully placed under her chair by Bella. It's a breach of manners in a high-end restaurant, but it must be her favorite bag, I commented with a smile. That's a magazine giveaway, isn't it? I'm honored that you're using my brand. Bella's face turned red, and she looked down, embarrassed that her bag was recognized as a giveaway item. I took out my business card from my holder and presented it to the stunned in-laws. I am Alice, the president of Roland's Bags. Matthew and Bella scrutinized the card carefully, their expressions a mix of disbelief and shock. To think you were actually the president, Matthew murmured, trembling slightly as he held the business card. Bella looked incredulous as they both stared silently at the card, forced to confront their misconceptions and prejudices in the face of undeniable reality. Upon seeing the business card, I subtly hinted at the potential fallout from their behavior. We were supposed to collaborate with Globe Crafts, but it seems that collaboration won't be possible anymore. Such a shame, I remarked. At this, Matthew's face drained of color. Why? That collaboration is the most important project our president has been working on. If we cancel it, our company will suffer greatly, he stammered, visibly shaken. What's going on? Bella asked, confused by the sudden change in her husband's demeanor. I explained, maintaining a composed tone. Globecrafts is in a precarious financial situation. In the past, handmade items were cherished, but now the market is dominated by cheap, ready-made products. Globecrafts has been hit hard by this shift, with sales declining year by year. Their president proposed this collaboration as a strategy to turn around their dire situation. I have collaborated with many well-known brands, and initially, I wasn't very interested in partnering with a smaller enterprise like Globecrafts. However, the president's enthusiasm persuaded me, and we decided to proceed. But now, considering the disrespect shown towards Quinn and myself, that's a thing of the past. Matthew, pale and trembling, seemed terrified of the implications. Ignoring his distress, I continued, a company that shows such disdain towards my daughter does not align with our values. My gaze was cold as I looked at Matthew, who was sweating under the scrutiny. In that moment, Matthew hastily apologized. I'm truly sorry, he said, his voice desperate. Quinn and Jackson were both taken aback by his sudden change of heart. However, his apology didn't resonate with me. It felt insincere, a knee-jerk reaction to protect his interests rather than genuine remorse. An apology now, after you've demeaned us? To think that would suffice. I responded icily, conveying my disdain for his superficial contrition. Realizing his apology was failing to sway me, Matthew quickly stood up, his actions feeling more like a performance than a genuine gesture of reconciliation. Bella, bewildered, attempted to smooth things over with a flippant comment. We're going to be family, so you'll forgive us, right? She then added, almost casually, I'm a big fan of Roland's Bags. Since we're family, I'll get some products for free, right? I was stunned by her audacity. Before I could respond, Jackson interjected, his expression stern and disapproving. "Mom, that's too convenient," he admonished her sharply. Bella, seemingly oblivious to the inappropriateness of her request, continued, "Why not? There must be plenty of stock, right?" Her lack of understanding and entitlement only highlighted the vast difference in our values and the superficiality of their apologies. It was clear that this encounter was not just a familial misunderstanding but a revealing moment of their true characters. Matthew's mood soured further, and Maria cast a worried glance at Elena as I firmly told her, "Our products are not just free giveaways. After all, you are essentially strangers to us." Elena looked visibly frustrated by my words. "But Quinn and Jackson are getting married, so we are family. A family should support each other financially. You're the president, after all," she argued with a straight face, despite having previously mocked us for our supposed poverty. Jackson's patience finally snapped at Elena's unabashed greed. "Mom, you changed your attitude just because you found out Quinn's mom is a company president. Aren't you ashamed?" His face was flushed with indignation as he confronted Elena. However, she laughed it off, unfazed. "It doesn't matter. A president must have more money than they know what to do with, right? Share a little with us," she said nonchalantly. I responded quietly to Elena, "Even if Quinn and Jackson get married, I have no intention of forming any ties with you." Elena, taken aback, tried to cozy up to me. "Don't say that. Once Jackson gets married, we'll be family. So giving away a bag or two shouldn't be a problem." As I was about to respond, Jackson stepped between us. He looked troubled and admitted, "I knew Alice was the president and kept silent, knowing my parents would pester her if they found out." Matthew looked regretful upon hearing this. "You knew? If you had told me, I would have acted just like Mom, right?" Jackson interjected, his gaze icy. Matthew's frustration boiled over. "Keep this up, and you're disowned." Quinn was puzzled by the tense exchange. Jackson sighed and declared, "I'm fine with being disowned. I'll sever ties with you all. I don't need a family that disregards Quinn and Alice." Elena collapsed in tears, while Matthew and Maria stood dumbfounded. The thought of being disowned by their beloved son was clearly devastating, but it was a consequence of their own actions. "I want to cherish Quinn going forward," Jackson continued, his voice firm. "I don't need a family that can't respect us." As he spoke, Quinn added, supporting our stance, "We won't even tell you if we have children." Bella, amidst tears, pleaded, "Please spare us that agony." But Jackson was resolute. Being a family isn't just about ties, it's about respect and love. Matthew and Maria, their faces marked with desperation, tried to appeal to us, but Quinn, Jackson, and I left the restaurant, leaving them to their regrets. The next day, I informed the president of Globecrafts that I wanted to cancel our collaboration due to the disdain shown by Matthew and Maria. Although the president tried to persuade me multiple times, I stood firm. I explained that while I sympathized with his desire to save his company, I could not support a business that employed individuals who displayed such contempt. The president, upon learning the full extent of Matthew and Maria's actions, became furious. With a daughter about Quinn's age, he found their behavior unforgivable. The collaboration was crucial for Globecrafts, and Matthew and Maria had jeopardized a significant opportunity. Understanding the situation, the president could not overlook their conduct. Matthew, who had secured Maria's part-time job through his connections, found himself and his daughter dismissed from the company. Finding new employment would be challenging for them, especially with their reputation tarnished. This incident starkly highlighted the consequences of their actions, leaving them to face the repercussions in both their professional and personal lives. After Jackson cut ties with his parents, who had once scorned us for our supposed poverty, the situation took a dire turn for them. One day, the in-laws showed up unannounced at our company, pleading desperately. "Please collaborate with Globecrafts. If you do, the president will rehire me. Even if not a collaboration, could you provide some financial support? Our family is suffering, and families are supposed to help each other out," they implored. Their sudden claim of familial solidarity was ironic, given their past behavior, and I could not help but find their pleas somewhat laughable. I made it clear that neither collaboration nor financial support would be forthcoming. Jackson has also severed ties with you. Please leave now, I stated firmly. But they lingered, trying to cling to any hope of assistance. When they refused to leave, I issued a stern warning: never appear in front of me again. If I see you again, I'll call the police. The mention of the police seemed to finally get through to them. Please, not the police. We won't come again, Matthew pleaded, and they left, their clothes dirty and their demeanor one of defeat. The sight of them, once so disdainful of others, now in such a state, was a stark illustration of how their own actions had led to their downfall. Apparently, Maria has since been living almost entirely as a shut-in, struggling to find a job and unlikely to marry. Despairing about her future, she barely leaves her room, a grim reminder of the consequences of their actions. 4 years have since passed, and life has taken a positive turn for Quinn, Jackson, and me. Despite being newlyweds, Jackson felt it was safer for Quinn to live with me, given the past issues with his family. They decided it was best to live together, and Jackson, busy with work, often helps with household chores, for which I am truly grateful. One day, a serious look on her face, Quinn approached me. I was anxious, fearing something might be wrong, but then she smiled broadly. It looks like I'm going to be a mom, she announced joyfully, her hands caressing her belly. Overjoyed, I hugged her tightly. That's wonderful, Quinn, congratulations, I exclaimed. Jackson stood by, smiling happily at the news. I knew that life might throw more challenges our way, but with our unity and love, I was confident we could overcome them. I was also eagerly looking forward to meeting my new grandchild, imagining our happy future together. A natural smile spread across my face as I thought about the bright days ahead for our little, growing family.